Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, but not good night. The intention of this video is to compare B2 and C1 listening sentence complexion. Both are non-stop, but B2 has 8 gaps. However, C1 has 8. In both, you must listen to the recording and fill in the missing words in the sentences to complete them according to what is said. In order to compare them, let's listen first to B2 exercise 9.
Thanks for inviting me tonight. As you know, my main interest is in conservation, and I'm lucky enough to work with lots of different organisations looking after animals both in captivity and in the wild. I'd been fascinated by all kinds of bears for a long time before I started working in this field, but it was the spectacled bear that really attracted me. Some people find it appealing because of its size and shape, and it's less well known than other types of bear. But for me, I thought it was such a great name.
Now, stop the recording and read the script in order to analyze. As we know, in B2, they always give several choices. In this case, size, shape, and name, but only one fits specifically what is said in the sentence. And in order to point out or highlight the correct one, we analyze the details. In this case, it would be that first interested her. And of all the choices, only the one making reference to that will be the correct one. From my point of view, the most important difference in B2 to C1 is that the words that we need to pay attention to, in this case, first interested her, will be found in the recording clearly mentioned. But instead of interested, what they use are other synonyms: attracted, appealing. Also, in B2, there are constant regular distractors. A typical one is the following. Some people find it appealing because of its size and shape, but for me, I thought it was such a great name. In the sentence, it's making reference what she found interesting. A great name, not what other people thought. Size and shape. Also, dealing with size and shape, it is necessary to point out that when there are two possible answers, for example, size and shape, but are united by an and, it's none of them. However, if one of them is mentioned in the sentence, then the second is probably the answer. At the beginning, if you remember, when you're doing the B2 sentence complexion for the first time, it seems rather difficult. But through practice, you get to spot them quickly as they are regular patterns. And through practice and technique, it's not a complicated exercise. Now let's compare B2 to C1. First of all, let's listen to it.
Hi everyone, my name's Josh Brady, and recently I was lucky enough to go on a botany trip to South Africa with my tutor and other students from my university to gather data for the research project we'd been involved in all year. I didn't post my diary or blog on the university website because I'd promised to submit a report on my return, which would appear there, and I was working on that from day one.
Now stop the video, read the script in order to analyze it better. In B2, do you remember that there were two possible answers that were united by an and? Well, the same happens here. Diary or blog, and none is mentioned here, so it's none of them. In addition, in C1, there's a constant regular pattern which appears in C1. I didn't post, placing a negative in front. What makes C1 more difficult, apart from the speed and the formal language? Well, this is an example of that it is required of you to spot the meaning behind what is said. For example, here it says that he planned to write, we know that it's a report, while he was in Africa. And he says, because I had promised to submit a report on my return, so report, you wouldn't be paying attention to it because it's not making reference to while he was in Africa. However, afterwards he mentions which would appear there, and I was working on that from day one. Therefore, he was writing it when he was in Africa. So as you see, we have got to spot the meaning behind what is said. However, in B2, we don't have this confusion as it is directly said. Dominating this exercise is about spotting new regular patterns that appear in C1 but not in B2. So, as I always say, it's about practice and technique. Hope I've helped you understand the difference between B2 C1 in sentence complexion. Bye bye.